Welcome to another Raivision dialogue. I'm Satish Rai from Sydney, and I'm going to have a very interesting conversation with a very interesting lady from Fiji Islands. And this is the first time I'm talking to Nalini, and I don't know much about her at all. So I'll invite Nalini to tell me and the audience a bit more about herself first.
Well, thank you to Dr. Rai for the invitation, and I was very happy to accept. And I've got two topics that we'll talk about. So firstly, introducing myself, I have lived in Sydney for a long time, so probably longer than I've lived in Fiji or New Zealand, which are like my other homes. But I first left Fiji to go to New Zealand to finish high school, and then went on to attend Waikato University, where I did a sociology major. And after that, I decided, thinking of a career. So I worked in libraries. I also soon after did some work at the Western Regional Library in Lautoka. After that, it was time to get further qualifications. So I came to Australia, went to Melbourne to RMIT and did my library diploma. And currently I've had sort of careers from library was my early career, and then I went into IT as business analyst, and I'm working in that data management kind of role currently. So as far as food and cooking goes, I did have...
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Yes. I'm a bit confused at the moment. First of all, where you live now today, and secondly, where in Fiji were you born?
Okay. I was born in Suva, but then my family left Suva to go to Lautoka, where I really grew up. So really, Lautoka is where I'm from. My father had a business there, so that's where we were. And currently, I am living in Sydney, and have been for some time.
Okay, great. So we share quite a few things together. I was born in Fiji, in Lautoka myself.
Right.
I grew up in Natumbua, Lautoka, and then I left Fiji early as well in 1980 and lived in London, where my first degree also was in sociology.
Right.
And, I also live in Sydney now. So there's three things, and four things. We're going to get to the fourth one now is also passion, cooking, because I love cooking and eating as well. So let's go to cooking, your passion for cooking. How did it start?
It just started when I was young, I suppose primary school, and for some reason cooking attracted me, and I suppose we're also as females, you were expected to learn, but I was generally interested as well. And so to start off with, it was a lot of baking that I did. Of course, you had to prove yourself before you did a fine Indian cooking. And my mother was a formidable cook, and my family entertained a lot. So there was a lot of that going on. And some of my friends remember at boarding school when we'd have our Sunday breakfast, and there'd be all these boiled eggs left, and I thought it was wasteful. So I'd collect them and then make curried eggs in my room. And of course, you make a lot of friends doing things when there's food around. So it sort of developed from there. And I suppose, I cooked with my mum, then I cooked with my daughters. It just gave me a lot of, it's a very sensorial experience. The smells, the sound, and the textual things, all those appeal to me very much. And I guess I am interested in food from many aspects. It's not obviously the nourishment, but also there's the nutritional part, to the philosophies. And these things I'm still learning because I don't feel, I don't really know enough. Cultures. So there are many aspects that interest me. So, and then some time ago, I decided that I would gather recipes from my mum together, because often people asked, they had a very nice experience and they want to know more about it or want some recipes. So and also for my parents' grandchildren, I thought that would be a good legacy. So I collected all the recipes, and then I.
Whilst you're thinking, Nalini,
Yeah.
one thought has come into my mind.
Yes.
When living in London, I got to used to in Fiji, where I lived for 23 years. We had to live on mainly, Indo-Fijian food. But in London for 15 years, I hardly ate any Indo-Fijian food. It was basically English food, fish and chips, Sunday lunch and pies and pastries and things like that. And I really, when I migrated to Australia, then slowly started to eat Indo-Fijian food again. And that's when I realized how beautiful Indo-Fijian food is.
Yeah.
And today, my preference, though I like authentic Indian food as well, and many other food like Middle Eastern, but my go-to food is Indo-Fijian food.
Yeah.
What is that? Your khasiyat, we say.
Yeah.
In the Indo-Fijian food that attracts us towards it so much.
Yeah, and I often hear people saying, people with Indian backgrounds, they say they go to Fiji and they say the food was different, but it was very nice. So I think I don't. It may be some of the simplicity. It may be some of the how we make our sauces. Like, we use have a lot of onion and tomatoes to make that base. It may be that love that we put into it. And
can I share my thought with you? And you are the expert in this field, but I've been thinking about it. Like Girmitias. The Girmitias were transported from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala.
Yeah.
I've been to all these places. And the Girmitias with them brought their own variation of food.
Yes.
And in Fiji, they were all put together. Now you can see taste a bit of Kerala, a bit of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh cooking, and maybe a bit of Punjabi and Gujarati as well. Maybe like the people of Fiji, Indo-Fijians, are a unique blend of people, and hence we have got a unique blend of cuisine.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and it's not the region, there isn't that distinction with the regional type of cooking that we have that is present in India, I think. So maybe we've just chosen the best of each cuisine, But yes, it certainly is different, and it's certainly becoming very much my go-to now as well. So I was really initially collecting recipes, and then having a library background, I suppose I did some research, and was interested to know how spices came to India. Like the Portuguese brought chili, and most people think, a lot of people think of Indian food as very spicy, but in the early days it wasn't so. A lot of spices and vegetables and things were actually introduced to India. So I did that, and I was still writing and hadn't thought of publisher, but I did want to go the traditional way of getting a publisher rather than self-publish. Then I thought, well, I'll write to a few places, and I did find one that was happy to publish. So that was very exciting. So I did that in 2018. And
Let me go one step back.
Yes.
Right? Before you get your book published, you need to write it.
Yes.
And being a writer myself, I know how difficult a task it is to even begin writing. And a lot of people, 99% of the population don't write. So what motivated you to write? And how long did it take you to write? And what were the good parts, motivational part, and what were, some of the obstacles you've encountered?
Okay, so the writing part, I also do enjoy writing bits. I do read a lot, and I think it just sort of started once I started to do research. I would make notes and then try and find out more about certain things. And I didn't, it was more making notes, and then I thought of chapters as I went. And the research part was interesting. Probably the part that's always a bit of a choice, the editing. A friend of mine said, well, you just have to say this is it. I have to finish editing at some time, and the book is ready now, because the more you edit, you'll always find something and want to make changes. So the editing part, surprisingly, getting a publisher was not as difficult as I thought it might be. So maybe I was fortunate. Mm-hmm. So then, and then the book sort of evolved from there. I decided to have menus. I decided to talk about have a list of spices and things we use and things like that. So it just evolved. It just kind of seemed to evolve.
I have not read the book yet, and hopefully one of these days I would get a copy of it and read it. But I would like to know broadly from you the content, and what are some of these the recipes which you have written about.
Okay, so this is my book, if you can see, Annapurna, and I chose the title because of the goddess of food and nourishment. I just felt it was very appropriate, not to be confused with the mountain ranges, which some people do. But
I always want to know what Annapurna means, because Anna means food.
Food, yeah.
And Purna means some sort of satisfaction.
Yes, yeah. So I thought it was appropriate, a name. And a lot of the food basically is, our usual meals of dal, rice, roti, and, curries and things. But there are also certain dishes, foods that I would have grown up with, some biscuits, cakes and things that are not necessarily Indian, but that we grew up with. And also certain indigenous foods that we also enjoyed, like purini and Fijian cakes and palusami and those kind of foods. So I also wanted to.
Palusami is a must.
Yeah, and taro leaves is a must when you're wanting to make saina. So it was really foods I grew up with, and while the main part was Indian, there were other influences as well as Chinese, of course.
Yes, we do tend to curryfy everything we do. So have you got something like, when you add spices to cassava, boiled cassava, and you deep fry it? Have you got a recipe like that? Because that's one of my favorites as well.
Yes, I like it too, yeah. That's right. We can. So those are there's probably about 75 different recipes or so.
75 different recipes?
Yeah. about
Wow.
75, around 70. And the book is, it's fairly simple. It's got black and white photography. And the main reason for that was, I do like black and white photography, but also it was a cost thing. So it came out in May 2018, and I was, not I wasn't contacted, but my publisher was, by Girmit International, which is, they're based in France. They have they have book and drink awards, and they are very big. They have about, as of this year, they had about 80 countries represented. So they give awards for books in many categories. It can be vegetarian, different cultural cuisines, sustainability, whatever. So they have a whole lot of awards. So it was exciting. They wanted to nominate me, and my publisher said, "Is that okay?" And what could I say?
Yes,
So, and then I forgot about it. And then later that year, there was an email from them saying that I was one of the top 3, and the awards were to be held in Macau in 2019. So I thought, okay, well, that's good. I'd also just started a new job, and I decided to go, and my daughters encouraged me, and my younger one also came with me. I thought it'd be a great experience, and it certainly was. It was just a wonderful experience being with like-minded people. You talk about food, you eat food, and very interesting people who had done some wonderful things. A cookbook for kids who are disadvantaged. Just many things like that. So it was really, you're sort of on a high the whole time you're there. And at the awards, I was representing South Pacific, and yes, and I was awarded. I was the winner in that category, which also, which was a real, credit to the Indians in Fiji, and the ones, the Girmitians who came, bring their food to Fiji.
Of course, congratulations on behalf of a team over here and all descendants of Girmitians. I wonder if yours is the first such book on Indo-Fijian cuisine, or has anybody else written that? I just want to know for my own knowledge.
Yeah, there are a few others, a few other Indo-Fijian cuisines, yes. Books on Indo-Fijian cuisines. But I guess everyone might take a slightly different focus. Like I was interested I started with India and some of the foods there, and how it was in Fiji, and how its curries are very, ubiquitous. They are very transportable, and how it's also traveled out of Fiji. So yes, they are. And also last year, they have this annual award. And last year they were celebrating 25 years of Girmit International's awards. And once again, I was nominated in that category for Indian Sri Lanka, I think the category was. So I had booked to go to Paris in May or June. And of course that didn't happen. It will be postponed, but it was just nice to get that recognition. And it's a homage to my mum, who was my inspiration, and also to the people in Fiji who've created this beautiful cuisine.
Excellent. 2 questions come to my mind. First is if somebody wants to get hold of your book, both hard copy and online version, how can they access that?
Yeah. So they are available on major book online retailers like Amazon, Booktopia, Book Depository, and there is an e-book as well on Amazon. I did have a local bookseller selling it. That was in the beginning when I was having launches and things, but now it's quite readily available online.
Yeah. Are you thinking of getting more hard copy is done. The reason I'm asking is presently there's a few writers here, Professor Surmani, Professor Nandan, and they're encouraging few other people to write. And hopefully post-COVID, we might have a little get together of these writers with their books. So with that in my mind, maybe it will be a good time for the writers. We are not too many of us to get together, and we can showcase our books there.
Yeah.
If that happens, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I since publishing with my initial publisher, I've now self-published, which is also good, which also has its, advantages as well. So, and their books are certainly readily available.
Yeah, I did that. My first book was self-published. So Salman Rushdie's first book was is called Vanity Publishing.
Right.
So self-publishing is good.
Yeah.
Now we are not all going to become Salman Rushdie's, but we can try. Talking about that, my second question is: are you thinking, or are you working on another book on cooking or some other subject?
In my head, I am. It's I think the book did take some years because I was full-time working and my children were young at that time, so I can't say exactly how long, but I didn't think I would. But once you sort of learn by your mistakes and you know some of the road, how things should be done, you think, well, it will be easier next time, but I don't know if it will. But it would be nice to do something in color, I think, because that's also quite appealing for many people to see the photos in color. So I'm thinking about it. Yes.
Good. I think once you get the passion, you should. Presently, I'm writing my fifth book.
Yeah,
it's romancing with cinema.
Right.
Two passions together, writing and film. So I encourage people to write, and my mentors, Professor Surmani and Professor Nandan, keep saying to me, Satish, keep on writing. So I will say that to you as well. Keep on writing.
Yeah.
Writing is good. One thing I was going to ask you, I've sent you video links of some of the cooking sessions we did. Have you ever thought of making some videos of your selected recipes, or have you done that? Because that way, in this day and age, you can very easily reach out to a lot of people globally.
Sorry.
I was asking whether you are thinking of, or have you done any video segments of some of your recipes?
Yes, I have thought about it, but I just haven't got around to doing it as yet. Yeah.
It'll be good, something to think about. And if you need my help in any way on how to get it done, you just have to reach out to me. And
okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. And now I'll give you the opportunity to come back with your final thoughts on your book. But my most favorite subject is Girmit, and you are also in a way associated with the Girmit project. Let us know, how did you get involved in this project, and what are you doing there?
Yeah. Well, I was at the 2019 conference in Lautoka, and I heard this conversation, and I just volunteered to be in the project. And really, I didn't feel I had to think much about it, because I've always been very keen on museums and art galleries. They're my go-to when I'm traveling, go to places. And I just felt I would like to be part of something like that. I didn't have the sort of background in terms of the historical knowledge that some of the other people did, but I felt I had knowledge in some other areas. So it was as simply as that. Volunteered and.
So have you been to, you must have been to the museum because it's in Slovenia, and bit of background. We did, when I was shooting my Fiji from Sahara, I met up with Hitesh Sharma for the first time. And in fact, we needed a bottle of whiskey for shooting. And so my Mamaji, he took me to his office, and he donated a whole liter of Red Label to me. And that was very kind of him. And that unfortunately, or fortunately, I had to drink that during shoot, during acting. That was very nice indeed. And that's how I got to meet Hirdesh. And then later on, we did the first Girmit event in Savani, where his Bauza is, the petrol station. And then there was repeated again in 2016. About 8,000 people were attended over 3 days. And then later, I think it is through Hirdesh's effort that the museum is up and running.
Yeah.
So I take it you have visited the museum in Fiji?
I actually didn't get inside the museum. I was only on the premises. Unfortunately, my time was quite short, and I didn't actually get to see it, which was a bit unfortunate. There's there are plans for there are in about 3 different stages, which you may well be aware of.
How can people, during COVID, we can't do much. We can do virtually. We have got a very large descendants of Girmitians in the diaspora. What do you want to say to them, as far as getting involved in the project? You are the vice chair of Girmit Global Institute of Museum project. What do you want to say to them?
If people want to get involved, look, I think it's like I volunteered, and then I've also introduced a couple of other people who I felt had like the skills set, like a museum background or something like that. I've introduced them to the project. I think there are quite a lot of things to certainly a lot of things that people can help with. In volunteering, one part is donating artifacts, just promoting, volunteering with, I think not at the moment the library is closed, but I believe the library has approximately 8 to 1,000 books currently, and there's a similar amount due to come. So they were people who acted as tutors for the students, which was really good, and also doing training for seniors, like using a mobile phone, that kind of thing. And this is how we would like to develop the library, because the libraries, like in Australia, do so many things for the community, and this whole project is evolving very much into like a museum, galleries. I'd like to see galleries to showcase works by descendants of Girmitians, whether they live in Fiji or diaspora, and a library resource center. It's becoming very much like that. So maybe they can, help assist in the library in some form. So I'm sure there's, a lot of different things like that. Like even once we collect the artifacts, there'll need to be cataloging and data entry, that kind of thing.
Is there a visual section? Because being a filmmaker, I've got a number of films I've personally made on Girmit, and there are other people who have made Girmit films. And since 2001, when I made the first Girmit film, there's hundreds and hundreds of films made around in the global Girmit diaspora. So is there any plans to have a virtual library of the Girmit films?
So I would definitely say so, because that the virtual part is actually in stage 2, and which it's flexible. There's flexibility. So in terms of that, like whether the artifacts, we have that virtually displayed, there would be conversations, certainly media, yes, and I think film would. I would see film as a very important part of the collection as well, as well as the books, the documents, etc. Yes.
Yes, yeah, and now we know that we can have online books as well, so we can
Yes.
virtual Girmit book libraries as well. We are coming towards the end of our short conversation. We can always have more conversations. Welcome to do that. But before we end, please share your thoughts about your book and anything else you want to share with the audience.
Yes. Look, the Girmit global site has some information. It has our collection development policy, which I had created recently or a few months ago. So that also gives some idea for donors on, what the standards are. There is a presentation from a previous conference, which has like the project plan and the 3 stages that I mentioned. There's also a couple of media sites in Australia and New Zealand. Stuff in New Zealand and Desi Australia have done write-ups. So there's also all that available on the site. And so that would be a good point for people to look at. And there's emails if they need to get in touch. I'd like to see the conversation going, and it's inclusive. Obviously, the museum is inclusive, regardless of whatever. So there is information there, and welcome people to contact us and ask us questions or make comments, anything like that. In terms of the book, I think this is our cultural heritage, and it's unique and it's wonderful, and just encourage people to keep it going. And it's a very way of getting communities together. I know Diwali functions at work are always popular, very popular, and a lot of non-Indians indulge in the cooking as well. So I think these kind of things are the festivities are good occasions to keep things going. Those would be my sort of passing thoughts.
Excellent. If you got any links to the website or anything else you like to share for me to when I do editing, and a couple of pictures if you've got, you can send it to me.
Yes.
And I invite you again, if you got anything going about the museum or Girmit Global, any activities you're doing, you're welcome back. This Raivision Dialogues is there, a platform for people to share their knowledge, their achievements, and the projects. So please do that. Before I finish, I can see Sarojini Krishna.
Yes, that's my sister. So I sort of sent the link to a few people. I wasn't sure how this was going to work. So that's my sister, and my brother-in-law sort of came in as well. She's in Sydney as well.
Yeah, I always invite in the end the invited guests to share their views, and if Sarojini wishes to say something to me and to the audience and to you, please do so.
Oh, that was an interesting talk about the Girmit. Yeah, we need to make it not advertise, but make it more people more aware of it. What's happening with the museum and the center in Saweni. So I think not many people might not be aware that it's going. So it will be a good opportunity to share.
Thank you, Sarojini, for sharing your thoughts. Hopefully next time we have a longer conversation with you. We need more and more people to, as you say, talk about Girmit and to contribute towards our history and our heritage. And your sister is doing a wonderful job.
Yes, she is.
And Nalini, thank you once again. And congratulations once again on your book and the awards and the work you're doing. And please come back once again. And now it's goodbye from me, Satish Rai. And namaskaram.
Namaskaram. And can I just say thank you to Dr. Rai for, allowing me to talk about the cultural custodianship of the Girmit Museum, very important topic for all of us. And also, I guess for me, related to that, food and our food heritage as well. So thank you. And yes, I hope we can talk more.
As they say, हमारे गिरमिटों का देन है. We have to. We are grateful to our Girmitis, and that's why you and I and many of us are doing this work as a tribute to our Girmitis. Once again,
Namaskar.